Your Denver Broncos get some phenomenal news as they are truly the new sheriff in town in the AFC West. We have another main media outlet declaring the demise of the Kansas City Chiefs, another plugged-in football person just talking about how our running back, whoever we get in this draft, is going to step in behind the best blocking offensive line in the league and be a massive step up from what we had last year, and some advanced analytics on some of these running backs that I was able to grab off Pro Football Focus. We're going to dive into all that and way more in this video. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben, and it helps me in the YouTube algorithm out a ton if you would like and subscribe. We know that the Denver Broncos over-under for the year was set at 9.5 wins. Let me know in the comments, what is your prediction right now before the NFL draft? How many wins do your Denver Broncos get next year? I'm saying 9.5 is at least 1.5 too low. I think 10 is the floor for this team. I think depending on how this schedule plays out, we are easily looking at a 12-win season for the Broncos, especially because I agree with what they were talking about today on The Herd with Colin Cowherd. The Kansas City Chiefs, guys, things are looking very, very grim in Kansas City. He went on here and goes on this huge tirade and talks about how the free agency is all about plugging up the biggest holes you have on your team. That's what the Broncos did when we went out and got Hufanga, and what we did when we got Dre Greenlaw and Joker and Evan Ingram. Whereas the Kansas City Chiefs, what did they leave free agency with? They entered free agency with massive holes on their offensive line. They actually shipped their left tackle to the Bears because they didn't have enough money to pay them. Travis Kelce got a year older, and they signed a 5th-round draft pick as their backup, who was the backup in San Francisco. And so he's going out and saying, like, I don't even think Kansas City is going to be a playoff team next year. We know they're going to play the toughest schedule in the AFC next year. We still don't know travel miles and all when games are playing out, but I completely agree here that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have a very uphill climb. We just know mentally also the toil and the toll that it takes when you lose a Super Bowl. Deebo Samuel talked about being in a deep depression and how long it took him to get out of that after San Francisco lost. And I think we're going to see a very similar thing for the Chiefs. Their bodies are a month more beat up, and you got a bunch of old dudes getting paid way too much money in Kansas City, so that's fantastic. Now, another reason to be crazy bullish on the Broncos is you can't even really fathom how bad our running game was last year, and we know what a huge part that is for Sean Payton's offense. Warren Sharp football came out here and just dropped the absolute hammer on how bad Javonte Williams was. Now, I love Javonte Williams. He was a jersey I ordered for my son, and it never ended up shipping and all. So whatever. I love Javonte Williams his first year. He never was the same after that knee injury. I hope nothing but the best for him, but we got to go through the facts here of the case here. The Denver Broncos had the #1 pass rush and run block win rate in the entire NFL, according to ESPN last year. When Javonte Williams was not in the game, how good was our offensive line? So when you're talking about Jaleel or Audric, we were #1 when it came to short yardage conversion rate. How many times did you see, when 3rd and 1, Bo Nix on that little sneak where he just go right over to the left and go right behind Meinertz? Loved that play. We were #3 when it came to getting 3 yards before we got our first contact, meaning your offensive line is opening up a hole and you can at least get 3 yards, meaning I could maybe even get 3 yards. We were #5 when it came to the team with the most yardage before they had the first contact, and we were #5 for the lowest number of stuffs at the line last year. Incredible stat there. Then if you actually break down Javonte, when he was showing up on Bill Simmons' radar and the national radar his rookie year, he was unreal, and he had a broken tackle, at least one broken tackle every 6 rushes. This year, he had 1 broken tackle every 20 rushes. When you look at his number of yards, yard average for a carry, he was last out of all running backs. He was 4th to last when it comes to yards per carry. He was 2nd to last when it comes to his longest rush. He was up there when it comes to numbers of fumbles for rush, and he was up there when it comes to stuff rate. And we just saw that time and time again. Zach Bye jumped in off the rope and just piled on top of Javonte. I even feel guilty doing this because I'm a positive dude. I love Javonte, but this is all setting the stage for whoever we get next year, guys, is playing behind the best offensive line in football with a center who's going to be more used to playing with it. This is just a phenomenal, phenomenal place to be in. And then you look last year, there was over 400 carries that he did last year without a rush going for more than 22 yards. And you remember early Javonte, it was he was getting tackled in the backfield and still somehow fell forward for 22 yards, it felt like. And so he dropped off a major cliff. And, I remember this very first game having high hopes, live streaming with all y'all, right? You got 2nd and 1 basically in the red zone. and he falls down there. Like time and time again, you take a look at how he played last year. He did not look like himself. I'm hoping one more year coming back after the injury for the Cowboys that he gets back to his old ways. All this to say, whoever the Broncos get, even if it's just Sean Payton throwing all of his hope and faith behind Audric Estime, the Broncos running game is going to break out next year, especially because Evan Ingram is going to open up that middle of the field, and the linebacker isn't going to know to crash down, and you got to have that linebacker follow Evan Ingram. Even just having Troy Franklin take a step forward as a sophomore year and Vele as a sophomore year, we're going to be better next year, and I think we're going to be getting an absolutely phenomenal running back. So a really cool new AI tool just came out. It is called the Draft Day Predictor, and this uses ESPN Analytics. I'll throw the link in the description here. And basically what you can go through is you can go through and it runs all the mock drafts of all of its actual NFL reporters and says what percentage chance that is the pick. And so you're looking here with the first overall pick with a almost 100% chance here that it's going to be Cam Ward. So you can go through here and see the top graph is who they think is going to be the pick. So they think the Giants are going to end up with Travis Hunter. And then what you also see here is the percent chance that a player is still on the board at that point. And so you're looking here, they're saying that like there's 100% chance Ashton Genty's still there at 5. But you're looking here at 6. Here's Ashton Genty. He drops down to like 80% chance. So if the Broncos want Ashton Genty, according to this model, they really are going to have to be trading up here to basically like they have to jump here right where the Panthers are. We know the Panthers have talked about wanting a defensive player. So if the Broncos want Ashton Genty, they're going to probably have to trade up to pick number 8. So this model has the Broncos with a 12% chance, which is, a decent chance. It says it's their best chance of getting Omarion Hampton. So that had me thinking, okay, what is it about Omarion Hampton that gets me excited and gets me pumped up, and why I think he is a better fit for the Broncos than, say, a Trey Henderson or someone else. So this PFF draft guide goes through and lists their production of each of the running backs in the different gap schemes. So obviously, your A gap is running on either side of your center. Your B gap is running between your guard and your tackle on either side. And then your C gap is still a run off of the line, but it's not like a total pitch out. That would be like a wide play. So I love the fact that if you look at, this is Omarion Hampton, most of his production is in this A gap between the center and the guard. And I think that's setting up perfectly for what Sean Payton wants to do with a running back moving forward. The best game I felt like we had running the ball other than that game against the Saints was the game Audric Estime just ran the snot out of the ball against the Kansas City Chiefs, and it felt like we were just spamming the A-gap all day on them. So I think you already have the change of pace back to go wide, whether that's Marvin Mims in the backfield like we saw last year or whether that's Jaleel. I still think Jaleel has the ability to be a kind of like a Jahmyr Gibbs type speed. We know he works his tail off and is the first person in the building. So I don't want a running back who flourishes on the outside in the C gap and going out wide. And so if you take a look here at Trayvon Henderson, A-gap production for him with Ohio State, having an incredible offensive line in Ohio State, you see most of his production, well over half of his production is on wide, on pitch plays. And I just think that does not work necessarily in the NFL when that's all you can do, because I truly think that we have this wide part of our offense covered with Marvin Mims and with Jaleel McLaughlin. So let me know on that. Other thing that actually really surprised me looking at this advanced analytics here of the different running backs, I love the pick for Omarion Hampton. If that's who Sean Payton falls in love with, go get him, Sean. But I loved looking here at Caleb Johnson because I would have guessed, what I like to do is I like to load this up and make a prediction of like, okay, how much production did Caleb Johnson have outside, inside? I would have guessed, just looking at his height, weight, size, speed, all that, I would have guessed most of his production would have been on the outside. But you see an actual like fully rounded player here in that he can do all of the different runs. So if Sean Payton thinks he can trade back and land Caleb Johnson or land Omarion Hampton in the first round, that would be crazy exciting. But let me know in the comments which of those gets you most pumped up. How do you feel? Omarion Hampton at 20. Broncos country, we got a ton to Bo-LIEVE in. Oh, that one was halfway down. Come on.